You're listening to Career Ready, and I'm Coach K. Getting you ready for your corporate career. I've witnessed candidates perform so well in an interview, but then lose it by making a mistake so common and so small that it is honestly unnecessary and sad to witness. So this week on Career Ready, we will be discussing 5 of the worst and most common interview mistakes that you can make in your interview, in my professional opinion. I put together this list of some of the behaviors I believe you need to avoid during an interview, but also I'll mention some corrective measures that you can do to help you have a better chance at a successful interview and getting that job. So let's start with the most important mistake to avoid doing, and that is lying or over-embellishing. And over-embellishing means telling the truth, but in such a way that it is more than what it actually is, adding on a little extra spice, which again is unnecessary. And lying is never a good idea, ever. A new law was recently passed in South Africa making lying on your CV a criminal offense. This is also by far the quickest way to be blacklisted within your preferred industry. In the financial industry, for instance, there is the red list. This is a list of all professionals who have been fired for stealing, defrauding the company, or other criminal offenses that go against the ethics of that industry. And you do not want to find yourself on this list, as you will be permanently banned from working in that industry. I've had a mentee ask me once, actually during a workshop, an interview coaching workshop, Coach K, how will the interview panel though know that I'm lying? I think I'm a very good liar. And the answer is simple. It's been proven that you cannot remember a lie you told under stressful situations, particularly in an interview. If you felt the need to lie about something, then the chance of that topic being covered again during the interview is high. You don't want to have to find yourself having to remember the lie you told in question 1 when it comes up again in question 5. Because believe me, it will. And there's no turning that interview around if you are caught in a lie. There's nothing I can do to help you, and there is no leeway that the interview panel will give you either. So instead, I want you to remember this. It is okay if you don't know the answer. It's acceptable if you don't have the experience they require or the qualification. You just have to remember that you made it to the interview. Regardless of whether or not you were qualified, they still saw something in your CV that made them want to meet you. So there's no need to lie about anything. But rather, I say be yourself and be confident in who you are, the experience you bring, the skills you bring, the character that you're going to bring to the role. We will look at how you can be yourself in an interview without compromising yourself, again, I think, at a later stage. Now to common mistake number 2, which some may think is common knowledge, but I see too many candidates default to this behavior when they're not having a good interview. So let's talk about it now. Can you guess though what it is? I'm very proud of you if you did guess it, and that is number 2, begging. Never beg in an interview. No matter how desperate you are for a job or how poorly you think the interview is going, never resort to begging for the position. There's a very thin line between showing eagerness for the job and begging. The minute you start to beg, the interview panel will do 2 things. 1, they will lose respect for you as a person, and 2, on a professional level, they will lose confidence in your ability to perform the job that you are required to do. And I understand, honestly, it's a natural feeling to panic during stress. The phenomenon is called flight or fight response, but it can be managed during an interview. A few years ago, I actually had a colleague who was working in the same company I worked in, and they wanted to move out from the customer service side to a sales position. I knew the manager in that team, and so I gave him a recommendation and he made it in for an interview. And he was doing so well in the interview until they asked him technical related questions which he could not answer, and he panicked. His natural response in that situation was to try and show them just how much he deserved the position and that he could indeed do the job. But unfortunately, it all went wrong. He shrunk his body, he made himself small, he dropped his shoulders, and he started to put his hands in that familiar begging position that we see from people who beg on the side of the road who need food or money. And we all know that that is not a very good look when you are sitting in front of an interview panel. And you know what happened? The interview panel immediately lost interest in him as a candidate because that job required somebody confident. And in that moment, he did not have confidence. Needless to say, he did not get the job that he was looking for. So there is a way to manage this feeling though in the interview. There's a way to manage the stress in an interview, and that is just by simply telling them, I don't know the answer. There are strategic ways in which you can say that, which we will also get into in the coming weeks because I think that is very important. But there is no shame in telling the interview panel that you don't have enough information to answer a technical question of that nature. Well, that's it for today. We have covered 2 of the first common mistakes, which is lying and begging in an interview. I hope you learned something new today, and we will continue with the rest of the mistakes during the course of this week. I'll see you there. That's it from me. You are listening to Career Ready. Stay connected and continue the conversation with me either on Insta, Facebook, or YouTube at Hello Coach K.